Good morning. Today we're going to be discussing computer disassembly and reassembly. Preparing to work on a computer, documentation is key to preparation. In real life, we never look at documentation unless it's digital, right? But in the book, they reference paper, so just be aware of that. But in real life, everything's online. So you're going to collect the following before starting a job: computer configuration sheet, computer and motherboard documentation, for example, which COM ports or what. So if you get an old computer and you have something that you need to keep around, some people have highly specialized equipment. You'll see this in industrial environments where you actually have to set the serial ports. Most of it's done internally. In newer computers, you do it through software or it's auto-configured. But if you're working in industrial environments, you may come across serial ports and you may have to statically configure them. So you could run into this in that scenario, and it's usually written in a permanent marker on the inside of the case, or taped with a piece of paper on the inside of the case, like fully taped so that the paper's not exposed, so it doesn't tear off and cause problems or dust or get caught up in the fan. You want to fully tape over it, make sure it's not going to come off. So you want to collect the following. You want to collect the following before starting a job: the computer configuration sheet, computer and motherboard documentation. List all installed expansion cards and their configuration if they're manually configured. The OS documentation, nobody has this stuff right. In real life, you're never going to do this. So for the test, just remember this list. You're going to see a test question about this. A plan of action that includes a checklist of tasks, tools, and parts. Again, nobody does that either. That much planning does not go into it. Tools and components. Assemble a toolkit that contains standard tools and a DOS boot floppy disk. I still carry these things around with me today. I haven't used them in years, but you know, this is something essential to a real, if a guy's been doing this or a person has been doing this for a long time, they will carry this disk around. They'll also have a set of wrap plugs for the serial port. During planning, ensure that you have all items required. Have on hand the original OS disks. Today we just carry everything on USB keys, right? Or we go and download it. A rescue disk for the version of Microsoft Windows that you're working with. The correct utilities for the OS version. So whatever kind of utilities you're going to want to install and run, make sure that they'll run on all the OSs that you're deploying. Virus checking with up-to-date signature files. If for some reason they need a free one, you can use housecall.trendmicro.com. No affiliation to the school or anything. It's just a pretty good heuristic online free scanner. It's housecall.trendmicro.com. It's free, so if they're trying to charge you, you're just clicking on the wrong things when you're going through the menu. They try to trick you into paying for it, so just reread what you're doing there. So now let's get into disassembly. Removing the computer case gives you access to the memory expansion slots and cards and the CPU. Each computer brand has some custom components or layout. So I guess they're talking about with respect to the case here, right? They all have custom different things that they let you do. Some may have two sides that come off. Some may only have one side that comes off. So the side where the motherboard sits down here versus over here. So this is the side of the case, right? Let's say this is the case. So we have a motherboard on this side and then a case on this side. We pull this off and then we can get to the motherboard, plug and play everything, and then put the case back on to preserve that airflow through the system, right? That's important. But some of them will have this side will come off as well, and all the running of the wires will be done behind this chase. It's about this thin in a lot of them. Some other ones will have an upper section and then a lower section where all the hard drives go. So you can force more air through the hard drives. There's less wiring to clutter up the fans for the video card and the CPU. And then the power supply would also be down at the bottom. So there's a lot of different cases you'll run into. There's also some open wall cases where the computer literally just hangs on a wall. Then there's also, you want to keep them off of the floor is the best thing if you can. The closer it is to the floor, the more dirt you're going to have. I don't care what kind of floor it is, carpet, tile, wood, doesn't matter. All of the dust runs along the floor. So whatever you do, try to elevate it off of the floor wherever you can. Remember that if you're working with old cases, if you just touch an edge, they will cut you. So a lot of people are cheap, they don't want to get the new cases. The old cases fit the new form factors, so you may run into that. They will cut you if they're not painted. If the inside of that case is not painted, it can cut you, so be careful with that. That's not 100% true, but for the most part, if it's not painted on the inside, it's an older style case, and it's going to be 50-50 shot whether it's the kind that will cut you or not. You can't always tell, but as soon as you touch it, and man, they hurt. The ragged, jagged edges will hurt you.